10 mountain rural horror movies you need to check out. If you love being creeped out by eerie rural settings, treacherous mountains, and chilling isolated places, then these 10 horror movies are for you. These films dive into the unsettling atmosphere of rural locations, where things are never quite what they seem. Let's jump into the horrifying isolation and suspense of these mountain and rural-based terror stories. Sennentuntschi 2010, The Alpine Curse. A group of shepherds in the Swiss Alps discover an eerie and supernatural presence when a mysterious woman, Sennentuntschi, becomes part of their world. But as dark secrets of the community unfold, they realize they've unwittingly triggered a curse that may haunt them forever. Why you should watch. Sennentuntschi blends rural folklore with supernatural horror, drawing from ancient legends of the Alps. The film takes place in an incredibly isolated, desolate location where the natural beauty of the Alps contrasts sharply with the grotesque horrors lurking there. Intense psychological horror builds as the characters' hidden sins are slowly revealed, and the strange, eerie presence of Sennentuntschi grows. 30 Days of Night 2007 Vampire horror in the frozen wasteland. In a small Alaskan town, the polar night plunges the area into 30 days of darkness. During this long night, a group of vampires, ferocious bloodthirsty creatures, descends upon a town, using the darkness as their cover and hunting the survivors, one by one. Why you should watch. Set in isolated extreme conditions, the film creates an atmosphere of dread that's heightened by the long night and freezing temperatures. The vampires in 30 Days of Night are not romanticized creatures we often see in mainstream media. They are brutal, terrifying predators. The horror is deeply tied to the extreme environment with no sunlight. Survival becomes an even greater challenge. The town is cut off from the world, making the stakes much higher. A classic horror story 2021. A nightmare in rural Italy. A group of travelers become stranded in rural Italy after a car accident. They take shelter in a remote cabin, but things quickly take a terrifying turn as they are drawn into a horrifying and sinister cult's world. The peaceful countryside hides a blood-soaked secret. Why you should watch. The film takes a fresh twist on the cabin in the woods trope, blending it with traditional Italian rural horror and the creepy, secluded atmosphere of Italian villages. As the group discovers the idyllic picturesque landscape is justified hiding a deeply disturbing and ancient pagan cult. Gripping tension builds as the characters unravel the terrible secrets of the land, leading to one of the most shocking climaxes in recent horror. Devil's Past 2013 Horrors in the Russian Mountains. Inspired by the Dyatlov Pass incident, a group of students sets out to investigate the mysterious deaths of a Russian hiking party. However, their quest to uncover the truth quickly turns into a battle for survival, as they realize that they are not alone on the mountainside. Why you should watch. A found footage style film that ramps up the tension as the students venture deeper into the snow-covered, desolate mountains where something unnatural awaits. As they uncover the disturbing details of the original incident, they encounter strange phenomena and supernatural forces that want to keep their secrets buried. The chilling backdrop of the Russian mountains adds an unsettling isolation, making the horror feel all the more real and oppressive. I Remember You 2017 Rural Icelandic Ghost Story. A young woman in a remote Icelandic village uncovers dark secrets about a missing person case that leads her to terrifying supernatural occurrences. She soon finds herself at the center of a chilling ghost story that ties back to the village's horrific past. Why you should watch. Set in the isolated, stark beauty of rural Iceland, this film mixes psychological horror with chilling ghostly apparitions. The slow burn of suspense is punctuated by eerie paranormal events that will leave you questioning what's real. Iceland's natural beauty, lush hills and stark, remote villages, becomes an ideal backdrop for haunting supernatural forces to wreak havoc on the unsuspecting. Timber Falls, 2007. Terror in the Appalachian Mountains. A couple's romantic getaway in the Appalachian Mountains takes a terrifying turn when they are kidnapped by a twisted family who has lived in the mountains for generations. They discover that this family has been luring and trapping people for years. Why you should watch. This film taps into the dark side of rural America, with a sinister family living deep in the Appalachian Mountains, exploiting the isolation of the area for their twisted purposes. The atmosphere is heavy with dread as the couple is dragged into a fight for survival in a horrifying rural setting. The backwoods horror here is unrelenting, as a couple faces not just immediate threat of capture, but a haunting realization of how deeply disturbed their captors are. Out of Darkness 2024, haunting in the rural wasteland. In a remote village, a woman searches for answers about her family's mysterious disappearance. She uncovers the horrifying truth hidden within the land. Dark forces are at play, and the rural setting hides unspeakable terrors. Why you should watch. A chilling film set in an isolated, decaying rural village, with supernatural forces haunt the land, feeding on the lost and the forgotten. The plot is driven by the woman's quest for answers, an investigative journey that exposes terrifying truths buried deep in the community's past. Tension and dread mount as she unravels the dark secrets of the place, culminating in a terrifying revelation. The Damned 2024, rural haunting and family horror. When a family moves into an old farm in a remote rural area, they discover that the property hides a terrible history. As supernatural occurrences begin to unfold, they realize the land itself is cursed by a dark, horrifying force. Why you should watch. A slow-burn haunting film that masterfully builds tension within the rural confines of the farmhouse. Themes of family trauma are intertwined with supernatural horror, as the family must deal with their emotional baggage while facing terrifying manifestations from the past. The rural setting becomes a prison for the family, as the land they call now home refuses to let them go. Loop Track 2023, Paranoia in the Wilderness. Deep in the remote New Zealand bush, a man is escaping the noise of society and begins to spiral into fear and paranoia. As he hikes deeper into isolation, he starts to suspect that something or someone is stalking him. But is it real, or is his mind unraveling in the wild? Why you should watch. A gripping blend of psychological horror and survival tension. Beautiful but oppressive natural landscapes hiding the sense of vulnerability and dread. The film excels at creating fear through what you don't see, relying on paranoia, silence, and suspense. Perfect for fans of slow burn, cerebral horror, rooted in isolation and mental breakdown. Antarctic Journal 2005, Isolated Horror in the Frozen Wasteland. A research team in Antarctica stumbles upon an old forgotten expeditions base. As they explore the decaying remains of the team that came before them, they encounter eerie, unexplainable phenomena, and something more sinister lurking beneath the ice. Why you should watch. Set in one of the most isolated and hostile environments on Earth, Antarctica, this film explores how extreme isolation can drive people to madness. The cold, frozen landscape creates a sense of loneliness and terror, as the crew uncovers unsettling artifacts and clues from the previous expedition. The haunting atmosphere, coupled with strange discoveries, creates an intense sense of dread that builds throughout the film. Final thoughts: rural horror done right. These 10 mountain and rural horror films take isolation, fear, and suspense to a whole new level. Whether it's creepy folklore, supernatural creatures, or terrifying survival stories, these films will make you think twice before venturing into the great outdoors. So, the next time you travel to rural areas or mountains, make sure you are strong inside and outside. Bye bye.